अभी मैं प्रेजेंट हूँ उखरुल डिस्ट्रिक्ट में। करंट सिचुएशन को लेके मणिपुर का जो एथनिक वायलेंस 2023 से 2026 तक पहुँच गए, उसमें से उखरुल में बैठे हुए जो लीडरशिप है, तांकुल नागा लोग का जो हायर ऑफिशियल्स है, उन लोग का रिएक्शन क्या है और उन लोग ये करंट सिचुएशन को कैसे देखते हैं और इसके ऊपर में क्या इनिशिएटिव ले रहे हैं इसको पीस लाने के लिए, सारे के ऊपर में जानकारी लेने के लिए हम आज पहुंचे उखरुल में। आइए लेके चलते हैं उन लीडरों के पास और वो लोग क्या बोलते हैं आप लोग को दिखाना चाहेंगे।
You know, there are two things essentially which think all of us need to be aware of, and that is the background to the current ongoing conflict between the Nagas and the Kukis. Let me tell you, this situation would not have arisen if only, and I say if only, if we respect the historical position, our respective historical positions. We have had a coexistence, and that runs into hardly 200 years, right? Started from around 1830-35. It's clearly recorded, and it's there, in the custody of the state government, and it's all there all over. If you care to access those documents, you can always have it. Secondly, now, why is it that this current situation has arisen? It's simply because the truth of our historical position has been denied, rather has been buried, and narratives extraneous to the truth of our historical positions is sought to be built, and that is simply unsustainable. That is simply untenable. That is simply unacceptable. That is the reason why this current situation, the conflict, is raising the crown. Now, as far as the Nagas are concerned, we have never asked the Kukis, our brethren Kukis, to quit or to leave the places where they are settled. We have given them the land. They are settled there. They have been living there. We have never asked them to quit. But taking advantage of this, if they go on to claiming that this is our ancestral land, meaning thereby, in the last 200 years or less, how can anyone claim that they have their own ancestral lands? The records prior to independence, pre-independence, would clearly say how many villages were there, in the pre-independence, in the state of Manipur, and how many villages more have been added to the existing villages after the independence. That would clearly show that they have never had ancestral lands. It's all a very recent development, a very recent phenomenon. And if only you appreciate and respect that position, I see no reason why there should be quarrel, there should be conflict. You call it, the ethnic, conflict. It is never the making of the Nagas. It is never the choice of the Nagas. So that is, the historical background that people need to be aware of. Now, with regard to the point of the killing that took place yesterday, we are never in favor of going after the civilians, after the innocents, particularly after the women, folk, children. Well, in the fight, able-bodied, volunteers are there on the front, guarding, our lands, the jurisdiction of our lands, and they have to resort to, firing if fired upon from the other side. And that has been the, case ever since. We would never, from the Naga side, we would never take recourse to firing first. We will only retaliate. And that is a strict instruction to our volunteers. Now, this is so unfortunate. And more than anybody else, church leaders who have had a very, long standing in the field of, in the field of Christian, service as leader. He has been one time the executive secretary of the Manipur State Baptist Convention. And he has earned name for being very vocal about, the need for restoration of peace. He has been crusading tirelessly for peace. Anywhere, whenever called upon, he is known to be involved in all such, mission. So it is very, very unfortunate that, not the volunteers, not the people, who have taken, recourse to fighting, but the one who is espousing the cause for peace has been killed. This is very unfortunate. We wouldn't like to go into who killed them. We don't even know, I must say. But this is very, very unfortunate. It's a loss not only to the cookies. We deem such loss as loss to humanity.
We want peace. The ethnic clashes between the Nagas and the Kuki community is deeply painful for everyone. It began escalating after the 7th February incident in Litan, Sareko, where a Tangkhul individual was brutally assaulted. We hoped for the apology and dialogue, but that did not happen. Now, more than ever, we need understanding, accountability, and sincere efforts to restore peace. After the incident, many of our youths from our community they were compelled to defend our land. So many self-employed youths, as well as the local youths, they were compelled to defend the land. So they moved to the corner, to the borders, and then because of this conflict, many of our youth has been unemployed, and then there were many youths who were supporting their siblings and families, but because of this conflict, our communities, that we are facing lots of economical crisis. So we hope and pray that it will settled in good way, and any lasting solution must also respectfully address and concerns of the Naga people over our ancestral land, while ensuring dignity and respect for all.
My name is Tingwepi. I am the president of Tangkhul Chanono, which is the Tangkhul Women's League. Today I want to raise the voice of Naga women who have held our families and communities together in times of conflict. Now, as you see, the conflict in Manipur, where Naga take our position, a neutral position in the past Meitei-Kuki conflict, but today it has reached us. My concern on this is that now as a woman we have raised up together in all the villages. Women stood up to guard our villages, leaving our homes and our children. For the past 3 months, we have guarded our villages and our volunteers. Now in this process, there have been a lot of conflict with the security forces, and both sides we have, and they have, I think the security forces have inflicted the women. They have used force at Eslamo, Litan, and hurt 12 women. And again, at Humi, Talu, the security forces also have used force. They have opened gunfire and inflicted injuries, serious injuries to women, and a head injury to one boy. So in this case, I think we also need to think about the past burden and the past wound that have inflicted to the Naga people by the security forces. As for Tamil Naga Shinawrong, our organization is closely associated with how the military forces have treated women in the past. And in fact, that has triggered us to form our own organization. So we're an organization who have formed to stand up to protect the dignity of women, to protect our land, to protect our men and children. And in this case, I think there is a serious gap between the community and the security forces because of the past wound. The public carries a very deep wound, which is very difficult. It cannot just be healed, through through just words. But I think there needs to be a serious dialogue and engagement. And this is again repeating. We have raised our concern to the Prime Minister on March 8th, the International Women's Day. We have submitted a memorandum raising our concerns about the deployment and the militarization in our areas. But as the response we are getting is that there are more security forces being pumped into our areas. Now, in Litan, the ratio was like it's unimaginable. One civilian is about 6-7 security forces. So it's quite an alarming situation for us. And I think this conflict will still continue because there is a very, like I said, the public carries a very deep hurt because of the past activities, because of the past atrocities the security forces have inflicted to the people. So now it has opened that wound again in this present situation. So why there is always a conflict between the women and the security forces in all the villages? Well, the security forces are supposed to combat the enemies, not with the public, not with the women. But in our case, we have seen that instead of combating their enemies, the security forces are causing trouble. For example, in case of Zoros, they are labeling our volunteers as armed getter. And this is a very serious allegation because community volunteers are being labeled as armed getter. It can criminalizes community defense system, which can further fuel conflict and tensions. So I think it will be good if the security forces also understand what community volunteers mean and why women are standing up to defend our volunteers because of these issues, because of this perception the security has towards our volunteers. Women are standing up. Now the consequences, as you see, has a very negative impact in our community. You know, as a tribal, it's the community, the women who holds the families and our economies. But now the plantation season is also coming. So it has disrupted a lot of our livelihood activities. So we're confronting with a very complex situation of conflict here. One, there's a conflict between the masses, the public, and the security forces. The other, again, it's like a conflict with ethnicity. But I think it goes beyond, for me, I would say, the conflict in Manipur goes beyond ethnic grievances because there's evidence involvement of drug trade, which is very much documented by the National Investigation Agency and the National Narcotic Control Bureau. So if we have to address the issue of conflict in Manipur, I think we should not label it as ethnic grievance alone, because there's an evidence enough that the drug market is very much involved here, and we know that Kuki as a community, they traverse 3 countries, particularly Burma, Bangladesh, and Myanmar. And Manipur remains as a key point, transit point for drug entry. And if this is not taken control, it becomes a vicious cycle in Manipur. So I wanted to request our community in other parts of the country to understand Manipur issue not just as a ethnic grievance, but it is very much related to the drug trade, because it's the drug trade that funded the illegal arms. It's the arms that intimidate the local community here. This is what I want to say. Thank you.
Well, our General President has briefed on the core issues pertaining to the current conflict, and also how to resolve this conflict. I would also like to brief or highlight a little bit on how this very conflict has happened or started. The initial story I would like to share a little bit. This very conflict started on the 7th of February, where one of our Angkunaga brother was brutally assaulted. We can rather call it or frame it as attempt to murder. Many people claim that this incident happened out of a drunken brawl. Yes, those aggressors or those abusers were drunkards, but the victim, he was a very well-mannered and a respected person in that very region, in that Litan area. I just want to share the irony that is around the Litan areas. There are just few villages of Kuki in the Litan areas. Most is surrounded by our Tangkun Naga villages. But ever since we grow up, we have never heard that a Kuki guy or any person from Kuki had been assaulted or abused by our Tangkuns. But then we often heard that our Tangkun people have been beaten up by Kukis. They have been assaulted. Such incidents have been happened again and again. So, just to quote that, this very incident cannot be quoted as an isolated incident, but this happened because of the accumulated provoking incidents. Just to go back with the facts, on December 29th, that was a Christmas season, the head of the Sharkapung village on 2020, he was beaten up. He was beaten up by the villagers of Sareko, and he nearly escaped from being beaten to kill. He ran inside the police station of Litan, and then he escaped like that. And after that, there was an incident again on 2025 where a winker driver was assaulted. Thereafter, a huge commotion broke out, and then the settlement was brought with an understanding and with a written agreement between the chiefs of those few villages of Kukis and also the leaders from Tangkul of those areas, wherein they agreed upon that if any such incident will happen thereafter, then they will live on their own. I have the written agreement with me, but then in the spirit of, even after happening many incidents like such happen, in the spirit of forgive, brotherhood, and as a tribal, we have always forgive them. We have always stood for peace and living together peacefully. But then on the 7th of February, this very incident where our own brother was beaten brutally, but it came to light only on 8th of February. So without the calling by invitation from any of the authorized body, right after the video was circulated on the social medias, the youths, they came out of anger, out of concern. They rushed in there to show their support and care for our own people living in the Litan areas. Yeah. So without the invitation from any of the concerned authorities, youths from different areas rushed into Litan. Maybe because of their concern, so as to show their support to our people living in Litan areas, and also because of the accumulated forms of anger, to show the accumulate that has been piled up since long back. Now, after the incident happened, we were expecting that some sort of solution can be brought off if at all, especially the leaders of those Kuki villages come with some sort of apology, with sincerity, but on contrary, many of the houses were set ablaze on that very night. Now that slowly it has turned into a communal conflict. Now, in this very process, I question the sincerity of the government as well. The government. Thousands and hundreds and thousands of students are being affected. As of now, as a student organization, we have facilitated the directly affected students relocating their institutions, schools in Ukhrul. It has reached more than 100. And indirectly, there are many students or many aspirants, job aspirants, who are traveling, that has been greatly affected because of the communication problem. The only lifeline that we have is National Highway 202. It has been cut off. The state government says that it is open by deploying the central security forces, but it has made known to everyone that our 2 innocent civilians has been killed, targeted on that very national highway, right after the Honorable Chief Minister's visit Ukhrul and give a hope to the people that this very road will be safe. On the very next day, our 2 civilians have been killed. So, in the context of the students, as I have said, many students have been affected. Till now, the government has not given any assistance to those affected students. And so also, regarding the national highway, they have never taken any clear stance that this will be 100% safe for the citizens. I also question the sincerity of the security forces being deployed there. Either they are there for the security of all citizens, or either they are for the security of only Kukis. We have not laid hands to any civilians, but our own brothers have lost their life on that very road, which the security forces, central security forces, is taking cover of it. And again, so the sincerity of the Assam Rifle, when the Joro incident happened, Namli Wangli attack, they reside just half a kilometer away from that Joro village. But then, as per the report from the villagers, it is said that the Assam Rifle reached the spot after more than 3 hours. So, considering all this, we have sometimes we feel that is it a calculated or coordinated attack? Knowingly, they have denied us. Are they happy? Are they enjoying when our Naga, our Tangku Naga are suffering? So, it is a big question to the Assam Rifle. If at all you say that you are here as a friends of the hills people, the government says that we are for every citizens, but we are in great doubt to the government and to the government agencies, the security forces. If at all you are true, then prove to us. Otherwise, a time will come when we will say that we don't need this kind of government. So before we get into such stringent step, I would like to appeal the government as well to treat us, to prove us that we are sincerely for the peaceful and we are for all the citizens without any biasness.
Well, like I mentioned previously that we are caught in a very complex web of conflict. I also wanted to supplement and highlight the recent incidents happened. I wanted to supplement to our President TKS that on 7th of February, the trigger started. On 8th February, 23 houses, temple houses were burned. And on 11th, 21 innocent civilians were held hostage by the Govt militant. On 13th, the escort of Superintendent of Police was attacked by a bullet. On 6th April, again the convoy of DC was stopped, including his family, the TFO and KRTA officials. On 18th April, 2 innocent Tamil civilians were killed in an ambush. And on 6th May, again, the convoy of Kamjong DC was stopped. So, the conflict here is that there is a blockage of National Highway 202 within a stretch of 3 kilometers, where within that 3 kilometers is 2 Kuki villages. And they have blocked entire 2 districts, Kamjong and Ukhrul district. Now if we connect the blockade of highway to the recent incident at Joro, how do we connect these two? Along this highway, there are a lot of Kuki gathered. Now, this blockade is being done by the Kuki militant, and again, the torching or the burning at Joro is also carried out by militant group across the border. There is a clear evidence. How do we connect this? Why does blockade of highway, which is just a stretch of few kilometers, continues for 3 months despite the presence of heavy security forces? Why is this? Can't the state do anything? Can't the center do anything on this? What's its purposeful? Why they are choking these 2 districts? No? Because there is a total blockade of essential supplies to these 2 districts. Entire 2 districts is being choked within a stretch of 3 kilometers. Why it still continues? Why the state allows it? And then there are security forces pumping in. But still the blockade continues. Why is it? What is the purpose? Now when we connect this to the incident at Joro, I think we can clearly understand that the involvement of armed gather across the border, the involvement of the drug trade, and the suffering of the people. So I appealed women across borders, across Indian state, to please consider the sufferings of the Tangkhul people here in Manipur, the conflict in Manipur, to kindly raise voices together with us. Thank you.
Well, all that my friends have been saying boils down to this. What is the state government doing? it's a constitutional authority empowered to exercise their powers and functions in order to ensure that there is law and order. And particularly at a civil society level, it has taken them 6 months to restore normalcy in a small pocket of, district, Ukhrul district. I think that is a huge slur on the image of the state government, the efficacy, the credibility, and, the effectiveness of the state government. We just want not a favor done to us, but the power duly exercised to ensure that there is peace and normalcy. Right? It has not been there. Just on a stretch of, 7-8 kilometers of road, they are not able to ensure free and safe movement of people to travel along. If the state government cannot take the responsibility of ensuring free and safe travel for the people, do you think they can do anything better than what they are showing? Well, I leave it to your case. Secondly, we don't want anything from the security forces, the so-called central security forces. We want them to be absolutely neutral, right? To be absolutely neutral. That is what they are supposed to do. Have they ensured that? And if they have ensured that, why is it that they are not able to guarantee safe travel for the people on this short stretch? If they cannot take care of this issue for the well-being of the poor people in the hills, I do not know what the better thing on earth are they doing. I'm sure I'm not expecting too much. This is the basic minimum that is required of them, and that is what we beg of them to do. Nothing but ensure absolute 100% neutrality, right? Never give the impression, never create any kind of a perception in the minds of the people that you are either for this or against this. No, we don't want you to be in our favor, and as much we don't want you to be seen as favoring another group. But that perception is lingering. Your, conduct has become suspect. We beg of you to get rid of that so that you're able to function as protectors of the people. So this is, what we are only asking, as our constitutional, rights. That is our constitutional rights. I'm sure you accept that. Now, last but not least, this is happening in Ukhrul district. As we talk right now, here, a serious conflict is raging the ground there at None, at Senapati, right, at Govt district. Don't try to isolate the issue. Take the issue in a holistic manner. And we are just representing Tangkhul Naga community, which is just another tribe of the Naga community, the organic whole, the Nagahood. We are just part of it. We just represent a segment of it. We are a constituent unit of the Nagahood. And there is a United Naga Council, UNC, right? And so it has to be looked at, treated as Naga issue. Simply because it is happening here, don't think that, this is an isolated incident. It is happening everywhere. It's raising the ground, even as we talk, right now. So please, in your, dissemination of information, please make sure you project this issue in a holistic manner. We won't allow you to bifurcate, truncate the issue as of, Tangkhul issue, as of Mao issue, as of Bome issue. Yes, we Nagas, we comprise, several sub-tribes, right? That is how we are. We are not, still ashamed of it, right? But don't, try to take advantage of that and try to, project, the issue, in an isolated manner. Please, for heaven's sake, don't do that. This is an Naga issue. Thank you very much.